Hey guys, this is my newest project that I did while in quarantine with some extra time on my hands, so I thought I'd share with you a video of how I did my latest project. So right at the beginning here you can see that I'm just tracing something that I already purchased. I think I purchased this at a garage sale like several years ago. It was too long for the piece of wood that I wanted to use, so I cut it down a little bit and just kind of ad-libbed a little bit of it. I do this with most of my projects. Either I'll tape it on there or I'll trace something that I have. It's not complicated, it's really not hard. Then I cut it out with a scroll saw. Now, the scroll saw is what I use, probably my most used tool in my wood shop. I cut out pretty much everything that I make, and there's rarely a project that I have that doesn't involve cutting something out like this. So, see here, you can just see that I'm just tracing what I already drew. It's not complicated. Um, Really, I think any of you guys could do it, and that was part of the purpose that I made this video, is to prove to you guys that this is really not hard and anyone can do it. So it's just about having the right equipment. So then I sanded it off. Again, everything I make, you got to make sure that you sand it. I sand most of it with this big sander, and then when I'm getting to the edges and the fine details, I use my Dremel. Again, another tool that I use in almost all of my projects is the Dremel. It's really easy to get like the nooks and crannies in there and just smooth it all out, make sure it's really good for staining later. Now what I'm doing here is I'm measuring out where I'm going to be carving into the wood to put in the mechanics of the clock. Um, you see here that I'm using my Dremel again. I'm cutting around the box that I just drew. Those cutoff blades are actually kind of dangerous. Be sure you're always wearing safety glasses when you're using those. They can break very suddenly. They're meant to be broken. So then I just screwed a hole in the middle for the stem to go through, carved it out a little bit, and now here was probably the most time-consuming part of my project. Since I'm going to have two screens going, so I don't bore you guys for like a solid like 30 minutes of me carving this out. But this was actually probably the most labor-intensive part of my project. Uh, I used my big 1 inch chisel for the bulk of it, and I used some crafting chisels to get the edges and the corners all squared off, make sure that I get everything. Here in a second, you're going to see that I also used a Dremel a little bit. You can see that a little bit. That was to carve out the big sections of it. Um, Not difficult, but just rather time consuming to do. Uh, that's about it for this section. Um, a lot of fine tuning, marking up where I needed to carve a little more out, and rubber mallet was to tap it in softly without breaking or hurting anything before I got it to set in perfectly. And there you can see it's all set in perfectly. It sits nicely. So now I laid out some plastic, and that's my little fine tooth thing. I added a little eye there with a Sharpie and sanded off away the excess. I thought that was a nice little touch. I always love doing those little things. But here's me staining it. I just stain it and wipe it down with a cloth. Actually, it's really nice because stain dries really quickly because you wipe off all the excess and the wood absorbs like most of the stain. So really, that I can pretty much handle this right afterwards, unlike paint where I had to wait for it to dry. And then here's me putting the mechanics on the clock, and it's all done. Here I'm actually cutting some back supports for the clock because the mechanics of the clock sticks out about a ½ inch in the back. I have to put these in there so that it's not just the clock resting against the wall, so that there's more than one point of contact on the wall. So this is also, I didn't show this in my thing, but I actually also added the hangers to these. At this point, I'm basically done. I'm just adding the numbers. I had a full set of numbers. I decided only to put the 12, 3, 6, and 9 on the clock because I felt like that lent itself better to the type of project that I was doing. Um, but all in all, this was a really fun project, and I really enjoyed just making this really well. So there you can see it's all complete and done. Here I took a short little video of little panorama type video of it ticking away. It worked really well. It hangs on the wall well, and I'm glad. I really had fun doing this project. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I'll see you around. Take care.